we are now down to our final two divisions before the season starts for the NFL. And starting here with the Detroit Lions. And I'm very high on this whole division, actually. Um, I think all of these teams are going to be good this year. And that's why the Lions, I've them winning a lot of games. So starting week one with the Saints at home for the Lions, I think they're going to get the job done there. The Saints are a good team, just not good enough to beat the Lions, in my opinion. But then going to Buffalo week two in that nice new stadium. I don't know if it's that nice, but going to that new stadium, Buffalo is going to beat them there. Two good teams. I just think that the Bills will be able to show off in that game and beat the Lions. Then the Lions, I think, will have a pretty good stretch after that, going on a 3-game winning streak, beating the Jets at home. The Jets I've already picked to be kind of awful this year, so I don't think that's too crazy to pick there. The Lions, I think, will be able to deal with that pretty easily, especially coming off of a loss against a team they would have liked to beat, even though it's not like they were supposed to. Then I think they'll beat the Panthers. Again, similar to the Saints, I think the Panthers are going to be a fine team this year. It's just I don't think they're at the Lions level. And so that's why I'm picking the Lions in this game to beat the Panthers there. And then now beating the Cardinals. The Cardinals are similar to the Jets, I think, are pretty bad this year. So I think that the Lions will be able to finish off this little win streak before the bye week. And I just think they're a better team than the Cardinals. But I think they come out of the bye week swinging as well, beating the Packers at home. This division, like I've said, I like a lot of the teams in this division, but they're going to be competitive with each other. And I think you'll see that as I keep going in this. But I think the Lions will be able to get the job done there against the Packers at home. And then I think they'll beat the Vikings at home as well, continuing this winning streak now on to 5 games. I think they continue it, beating the Dolphins in week 9, who they're a better team than. Then even beating the Patriots in week 10 at home. And at this point, I just feel like the Lions are going to have a lot of confidence, especially coming off of, I guess that'd be 6 games in a row that they'd have beaten the Jets, Panthers, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, and Dolphins. And so to just tack on another one against the Patriots, who's a great team, but I think that the Lions are a great team as well. So I think that they'll be able to tack on that win. Again, with similar to the other NFC South teams, I just think that the Lions can get the job done there to be able to do enough to beat the Buccaneers. But I think this is where their winning ways kind of end as they circle back into a divisional opponent, one that they haven't played yet in this season. And the Bears put them back into their place a little bit. They'd have been 9-1 at this point in the season. That'd just be kind of crazy if the Lions were able to keep that up. So I think the Bears will put them into their place. And then even the Falcons, I think, will be able to kind of show that they're not going to be messed with as much. And I think this will really be a rethinking part of the season for the Lions. They'd have just been 9-1, and then you lose 2 games in a row, one of them against a pretty bad team in the Falcons. But I think they bounce back. They have a game against the Titans right after that at home that I think they'll be able to deal with. Then they go to Minnesota, a team that I think they'll be able to beat multiple times. And then finishing off against the Giants, I think they'll be able to deal with that. So they're getting back into their winning ways, but I think they're going to lose some other games as well. I think they'll finish off the season losing to the Bears and Packers to finish 12-5. It's a great record for them. I don't know if it'll be enough to win the division. We'll see with that, but I think 12-5 is kind of fair. I feel like how I picked it's not the best, just going on big winning streak to really get a lot of those wins, but I think 12-5 is a reasonable record for the Lions. Now moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Um, Starting week one, I think they lose early to the Vikings. The Vikings, I think, are going to be a good team this year. Obviously, they just picked Kyler Murray to be their starter, who I don't know why that was really a battle, but I'm glad they did that. That was the very much correct choice. Um, so, yeah, I'm glad that the Vikings did that, and I think it'll show immediately in week one as they will be able to beat the Packers. The Packers, though, will be able to bounce back a little bit, get a win against the Jets in week two. Still haven't been at home yet for them. And I think when they finally do get to Lambeau, they're not going to be ready for it, and a team like the Falcons will be able to beat them there. Um, and honestly, my reasoning for this is just that I think the Falcons, I've said this when I picked the Falcons, have enough firepower to just kind of shock some teams. I don't think they'll be able to compete as like a playoff team, but they're going to be able to shock some teams, and I think one of those teams will be the Packers here. I think the Bucks will also beat the Packers in Week 4, but don't be scared with the Packers. I think they're going to bounce back a lot more after this, with some of these games being against the Bears and Cowboys, two teams they own. I'd be shocked if they lose either of these games, especially at home at Lambeau. Um, yeah, these are just teams they own. Although they're probably going to be pretty good teams, I just feel like the Packers will be able to deal with them, especially after really wanting to bounce back after those two losses against some NFC South teams. Now moving on to the Lions game. I think the Lions have that one. I already picked that for the Lions, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But yeah, I have the Lions in that game. Then I even have the Panthers beating the Packers. And really, the NFC South, I just think, is going to be tough for the Packers. I just feel like they might overlook some of these teams a little bit. Because the whole NFC South is kind of just mid teams that the Packers might want to look past and look towards better opponents, like the Patriots, who they have the week after that. And so I think that might bite them a little bit. But I think looking forward will help them in some way because they're going to beat the Patriots, in my opinion, and they're going to beat the Vikings. So 2 wins is a little bit better than 1 loss, in my opinion. Or 2 wins is better than 1 win. So if you're going to focus on a game, you might want to focus on these Patriots and Vikings games if you're the Packers. And I think they're going to go on a big win streak of their own, honestly. I think they're going to beat the Rams. The Rams are going to, I think they have to lose to some teams. They're not going to go undefeated or anything. The Rams are obviously going to be great this year. They're going to lose to some teams, one of those teams being the Packers, in my opinion. But then I think the Packers will finally break that NFC South curse and beat the Saints. I think they'll beat the Buffalo Bills as well. At home, then continue against the Dolphins, beat a team like the Bears that they've just kind of owned forever. So they were 3-5 at one point. Now they're 10-5. I think a 7-game winning streak is a little unlikely, but I think 10-5 is not unlikely. So although I don't love how I'm picking some of these, just going on losing streak, winning streak, everything, I just feel like I just see it a lot, and I don't know. I just feel like some of this could happen this year. But I think the Texans will end their losing streak here. The Texans are going to have a crazy defense this year. And yeah, I've already picked that game. That was one of the first games I picked. But yeah, I think the Packers will lose that game to the Texans. And then the Packers will be able to beat the Lions to finish the season. Not enough to take the division away from them, though. But 11-6, I don't think is a bad record for the Packers. Now moving on to the Chicago Bears. They are going to be a team that's going to be thought of very highly. I don't know if I think of them as highly as some people do, but I think I'm going to think of them highly enough to still be very good and maybe make the playoffs. But I don't know if they'll be able to show that week 1. Losing to the Panthers. The Panthers are a team, like I was saying with the Packers, of just like the NFC South being kind of mid, you might overlook them. But with the Panthers, I just feel like they're good enough. They're one of the better teams in the NFC South to where they can compete more against good teams like the Bears. And so that's why I have them beating the Bears week 1, kind of just showing off week 1 of the season of we're not a team to be messed with. But I think the Bears will bounce back against some great teams with wins over the Vikings. Um, and this win, I just feel like, is the Bears just showing that, yeah, they lost to the Panthers week 1, but they're still a great team. They're still a team not to be messed with, and that's why I have them beating the Vikings in week 2 at home. I think they continue the stretch of winning games against the Eagles week 3. And then I think they are going to beat the Jets week 4 as well. In this little home stretch that they have, I think they'll go undefeated in that home stretch. And then I think they will lose to the Packers. I already picked that. The Packers own the Bears always. They always will. I think the Bears will beat the Falcons in week 6. I think the Bears will beat the Patriots in week 7. And then I think that the Bears' little run here of 2 games going into the Seahawks, now 5-3 right before their last game of before the bye week. They honestly have a great bye week of week 10. You have a big stretch of games, little rest, big stretch of games, kind of the perfect mix here instead of having super early or super late bye weeks. I feel like a week 10 bye week is really nice for them. And then in this game against the Buccaneers right before their bye week, I think they're going to get the job done and go into the bye week 6-3. But then coming out of the bye week, I think they're going to continue winning a little bit, beating the Saints, who I think they're a better team than. I think they'll be able to beat them pretty easily. I think they'll beat the Lions, who obviously is a great team, but I already picked that game, so I mean, I just feel like it's going to be cooling off for the Lions as it's picking up for the Bears because I have them beating the Jags as well at home. The Jags are a team who I think are going to be fine this year. They're not going to be like an insanely good team. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to have a positive record, but not at the level the Bears are going to have. So that's why I have the Bears in that game. Then the Bears will continue winning against the Dolphins before losing to the Bills to end their winning streak of 5 games. Really, the Bills are a team that are just going to be able to beat other good teams. I don't know how much they're going to really compete fully to win a Super Bowl, but the Bills are going to be able to beat teams like the Bears, who are other good playoff teams. And then I think the Bears are going to lose again to the Packers. I already picked that before beating the Lions in Week 17, which is another game I already picked. But the Bears, I just think, are going to have the Lions number this year and be able to put them back in their place when they really need to. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do enough because I think the Vikings will get that win in Week 18 to still keep the division with the Lions so far. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Vikings will be able to take it from them. And starting off with Week 1 with the Vikings, I think they're going to show that they're going to beat the Packers. They're going to, I already talked about it. Kyler Murray's going to show out Week 1 and show that he deserved to be the starter. And so that's why I have the Vikings there. Then I think the Bears will beat the Vikings Week 2. Already picked that game, so not too crazy with that. But then moving on to the Vikings beating the Buccaneers, I just think that they're a better team. They're going to want to win this game right after losing to the Bears, so I think they'll get that one. But then I think they're going to lose to the Dolphins. Similar to how I had the Packers losing to NFC South teams, I think the Vikings might overlook a team like the Dolphins, who the Dolphins are going to be really bad this year, honestly, but they're can shock some teams. They're going to find some wins somewhere, and I think one of those wins will be against the Vikings, and it might come back to bite them later. But it won't come back to bite them immediately, as I think they'll bounce back pretty easily and get a win over the Saints right before their bye week. This is an example of a bye week I hate because they have just a couple of games and then huge stretch before the end of the season. But The Vikings, I think, will be able to beat the Saints there. I think they come out of the bye week strong, beating the Colts. But I don't think they'll be able to do enough to beat the Vikings or the Lions right after that, as I have them losing there in Detroit. But I do think that the Vikings can beat the Bills right after that before losing to the Packers at Lambeau. Um, and really at this stretch, the Vikings 5-4. I feel like at this point they're going to be like looking for something to change. I don't know what they'd change really, but I think they are going to make a change that's going to help them a lot, as I only have them losing a couple more games to end the season. With them winning this game against the Niners, winning this game against the Falcons, winning this game against the Panthers in week 13, before finally losing to the Patriots. And I think the big factor in this 3-game winning streak is just going to be that the Vikings are better than all these teams. Even the Niners, I think the Niners are going to be a good team this year. Just not, I think the Vikings are going to be really competitive in some games like this, especially at the end of the season. And so I think the Vikings will be able to take care of that game before beating some NFC South teams that they're better than, and then losing to the Patriots, who I think are better than the Vikings. But then the Vikings are going to lose again to the Lions before finally picking up a win against Washington. And then they have these final 2 games before the season ends, and I think they're going to go 2-0 in both of them. So 11-6 again for the Vikings, and that means that the Detroit Lions are my NFC South division winners. So 12-5 for the Lions, 11-6 for the Packers, 11-6 for the Bears, 11-6 for the Vikings, and that would be 4 really good teams, maybe even 4 playoff teams. That'd be pretty crazy. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it very much could. But next week will be the NFC West, and that'll be the final division picks that I have before showing off my playoffs, and then my awards members of awards winners of MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Maybe even Coach of the Year. I might do that one too. But yeah, I'll be back with the NFC West next week.